What is today then? All right, we're live, Wednesday the 18th. Thank you, Coach Dorr. All right, welcome to class. Here's your quote for today, number 30. Stay away from negative people. They have a problem for every solution. Think about that one. Well, hoping this is working all right. I have a quick lesson to finish up Edmund Spencer, some questions that we started Monday. And where I'd like to begin is reading certain pages to you. We read part of the Fairy Queen, just so you'd know what it was like. And it's quite different. Okay, as we mentioned, Spencer's writings are examples of romantic literature for its era and for its date and time. And anyway, if you're following along in your book, we did read part of 282 on the top, and what I'd like to do is recap the story a little bit for you and then propose some questions. Okay, the story is about knights in the Round Table. It's the chivalry, King Arthur, that whole magical time in life and how things were written and told in prose and poetry, actually. Now, this particular story of the Fairy Queen is a little different in that it tries to disguise what the normal reader would think the story would be about. King Arthur and the Round Table. You would think about going out on wars and slaying and having all kinds of magic stories and in this case maybe even slaying a dragon or two. But really Spencer is disguising his story, and what he's doing is projecting the holiness of the era and time. And he often disguises the characters in the story so he doesn't get in trouble. Now, he makes reference to King George, or St. George, not King George, my fault. And how he's spoken of in England and who the dragon is, and etc. So in review, St. George represents the country of England. The dragon is Queen Elizabeth. And throughout the story, a lot of people say, well, why does he need to take all this time just to explain the different avenues and the different routes that he takes to get to the end? What is he trying to teach us? The journey is like most other characters that we've studied so far. It's a journey to somewhere for some purpose. Now, what he tries to do is to get you as a reader to take a look at the different ways a story can be told and interpreted. A lot of times characters in the story are fictitious, they're not real, but they represent something in society. And his whole basic premise is to help people find, this is probably a key to the story, the inner truth. The inner truth of what, though? The inner truth of yourself, the inner truth of those things around you and how you adapt and adjust to those things, how you are able to take those individual inquiries that you come across in the story, and what do you do with them? Do you use them to help you see the way? And a lot of times people that read Edmund Spencer forget about that he is basically centered in a Christian point of view. He's trying to get people to see the inner drive and the inner love that they can have, and to teach others the same thing. On page 284, which is at the very end, there's a couple things again I'd like to read to you. I forgot to turn my phone off again. But let me do this. Now, this is just kind of like a recap in your textbook. About halfway down on page 284, Spencer's effects are more suitable to Hannell and Tudor science than to chant and scholarlistic. There's also less mystery in Spencer than in Dante. But likewise, there's a greater attempt to let in the light at every turn. In his vision, the clatter of medieval cathedral is cleared away. The images and relics are exposed as tricks. It allows the Christian to see the true fairy in nature and in the orthodoxy without being deceived and distracted by false witnesses, false loves, false stories. Furthermore, Spencer sacrifices the English story. He places the classic tradition with deep myths of England, using the tale of Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table now, not the author of the book. He tries to tell it in the romantic way, so it's more fun, but it's, people find it very difficult sometimes to see that. You have to be willing to explore a little bit more than just reading the topic. Spencer claims and uses vocabulary of 1,500 years of Christians, proving politically and poetically that this is just as much as the heritage of the Church of England as the Church of Rome. Sorry about that. There, got it off. What is more, Spencer is a Protestant, and the Catholic Church comes in for all sorts of attacks under his direction. And most of his attacks on the Catholic Church are unfair because of his bias towards his faith in Christianity as a Protestant. You got to remember, he was living in a world where the Catholic Queen of England had recently roasted the Protestant heroes of the, because of what's happened in past history. They didn't believe that the Protestant had any right in the world at the time. And he also lived, this was the era of the religious wars. And the Pope was, for sure, wasn't a Pope like we would consider, your text says, Pope John II, a very kind and gentle Pope. They weren't all like that, and he was trying to point them out and warn people. He also wanted to give his readers an opportunity to look at it differently and to have a different perspective. Now, if you wanted to join in and become part of that, that was up to you, but he wanted to have the freedom to express that. And certain things that you ask yourself in this story, and the obvious ones that we already went through, but we're going to review them just a little bit. Spencer's writings are romantic. He has several characters and that represent that and represent the goodness of being a romantic individual, in that you're looking for the good and you're looking for reward, pats on the back, so to speak. Now, a big question is, where is this journey or voyage headed? He sets out in the story in a direction of purging, I think is one of the good ways of saying it, purging what the current tradition and values are. The Catholic Church, like Calvin and like a couple others, he saw some hidden agendas by the Catholic Church and by the people that run the Catholic Church, including the Pope. But, you know, the bishops, the people in the inner workings of the Catholic Church are all human, and they're all have misgivings, and every one of us, as we are told, sin, and they're not beyond sin. So the voyage was headed to show you that there is differences of opinion even within the church, or the established church at this time, and the established government at the time of England. And not everything was perfect. Now, there's a character in the story, and her name is Una. Una represents something, and she symbolizes something for the entire story. Now, let's put yourself into a journey that you're going from the Tri-Cities to Seattle. Okay, we're going to start the journey. We're not going to drive by car. We're going to go by wagon. It's going to take us longer. We're going to experience more things. And we're going to see more things, because we're not going to be driving along at 70 miles an hour and miss a lot of things, even though you see things. But being there in a different context is what he wants you to understand. He wants you to see, and he wants you to try to connect the different parts of the story as a journey. As you know as well as I do, some of it's going to be very, very wonderful, and other things will not. We may all of a sudden have a rainstorm. We may have something happen, you know, who knows. But the symbolization of the people in the journey that you come across and the objects you come across are very important. I think it's easy for all of you to understand the basic people, you know, who St. George is and who Queen Elizabeth represents, you know, besides, you know, the Queen. She is the dragon. She is the force behind the corruptness of what's going on. The Pope falls into that, other characters in the story. So on this journey, he's basically trying to right the situation. St. George, or England themselves, in this particular story, are in a quandary, or a bad state of affairs with the Queen and what she wants done, and her monarch dictator type of rule. And then she has the Church of England and the Catholic religion behind her. And part of the slewing of the dragon is to change this, to open up the doors to other exposures. And this is what he hopes to tell or show you in this journey. Now, the one character that I just mentioned, Una, is in a lady form, and it's a connection of the story that symbolizes what the truth can be. He uses her as the symbol, simple as that. Even in the reading of part of the Fairy Queen, you will see that she represents almost, I don't know if it's the right way to say it, but like Mary. She was a woman symbolizing innocence, truth. She carried with her a lamb and a dwarf. They refer to this dwarf could represent many things. It could be a small child. It could be a baby. It could be the symbolism of Mother Nature carrying on despite what's happening in society. So it's interesting to see how somebody would write this. And as a student for this particular class or story of the Fairy Queen, you have to have an open mind as you look at it and just take it in and go back and reread some of the things and see if you can pick up. Now, Monday, I basically taught, I hope I did, how to read between the lines, take out the extra letter, and the word still means the same. Just take a look at the title, Fairy Queen. There's an E at the end of Queen. You know, does that still change it? No. So keep that in mind. Now, I proposed a couple other questions to you in an interpretation. And this is a skeptical question is, what is the image again? Can you still be a Christian and be romantic? Can you still be a Christian and have doubts? Can you still be a Christian and question things? Can you question deity? Can you question? I think in his tale he says yes. It's part of human nature to question things and to seek things. And this is what the whole story is about. Don't just take for granted that the Queen of England is right in all things. It is okay to question the government. It is okay. Now, in the era of time, it depends on the year, where you're at. Are you in a situation where you can do so? In our democratic republic, we can question. Think back about this period of time in the 1500s. You could do that, but you still had to use some careful judgment. And again, this is what your poets and your writers and your storytellers did to get their point across. And sometimes some were more outspoken than others and disguised it better. Others did not. They didn't care if somebody would attack them. But in most cases, they used representation of symbols and analogies. And again, this is just the way things were done, and you have to accept it that way. Now, what I would like you to do is, this is this is an assignment, and I'll post this also, but I have a passage I want you to interpret as an assignment. And I'm gonna read it to you, then when I get home today, I will post it on Populi. And I'm just gonna read it to you, take the time to read it to you. It's one of the passages out of the text. His lady, seeing all that shall come from fair approach, in haste to greet the victory, and said, "Hey, fair knight, born under the happy star, who sees your vanquished foes that you lie?" Now this is spelled L-Y-E, but it's still lie. "Well worthy be you of that amorous, wherein ye have great glory, won this day, and proved your strength on a strong enemy. Your first adventure, may many such I pray, and henceforth come, every wish that I like succeed it may." Now, this is a person telling somebody, this is what you're to figure out. Are they congratulating? Are they giving them pats on the back? What are they doing? And you'll have to read this several times. I'm going to read it one more time. You'll have to maybe change a word or two like I do, and just take your time. And you got to figure out, very first thing, his lady. Hint, hint, starts with a U. His lady, seeing all, or is it the queen? Seeing all that he has done fair and has approached, in haste to greet his victory, and said, "Hey, fair knight, born under the happy star, who sees your vanquished foes in your lie? Well worthy be you of that amorous, wherein you have great glory from this win today. And you proved your strength on a strong enemy. Your fast adventure, may many such I pray. And henceforth every wish that like succeed you may." Okay, I'll type that out and you'll have a little better, if you're fortunate enough, you'll find it in the reading. But I'm not going to tell you exactly where. I think it's part of you can just take it literally and interpret it. Think about the different things they're talking about, the image they're talking about. I think just by reading it a couple times, you can see it's a congratulatory type of statement, but it means some things, and I want you to interpret it. And good luck. Well, anyway, that will be it for today. I will have, on Friday, I will have some questions to finalize Edmund Spencer's story and information for you, and then we'll post those also. So right now I'm going to turn off the sound and I'll walk back and turn the camera off. Have a great day and thank you.